Hi, everyone. I'm Kyle, and I create assessments at Zern. Before joining Zern, I was a math teacher for nearly 10 years in Louisiana Public Schools, and then was a coach and a math lead for the state of Louisiana for nearly 5 years. I'm so excited to come together as a learning community and explore how Zern's assessments support teachers in tailoring daily instruction, providing constructive feedback, and getting to know the needs of each learner, which is more important than ever as we work to catch kids up and move them forward in their learning. Before we jump into discussing Zern Math's assessments, I want to quickly orient you to Zern. Zern is a nonprofit founded on the belief that all kids can love learning math. Our goal is to provide teachers with the support they need to make math accessible and engaging for every child. To do this, we created Zern Math, a top rated K 5 comprehensive math program designed to support a range of instructional needs, including a full core curriculum, digital resources to support core instruction, and more targeted intervention. Our materials are built so students experience digital learning as a perfectly aligned extension of their teacher's instruction. Zern's digital lessons include interactive math manipulatives, precise feedback at the exact moment of a student begins to struggle, and mastery based independent practice with embedded remediation. Studies have shown that when students complete 3 lessons per week, learning gains are equivalent to adding 140 additional days of instruction to the academic year. When used every day alongside instruction, learning gains are double the gains of a typical year of instruction. Today, we're going to share information on our suite of assessment offerings, as now, more than ever, teachers need ongoing assessments that provide actionable insights to inform instruction. We'll start by exploring the design principles we use to create our assessments. Then, we'll explore each type of assessment Zermath offers and how they work together to give teachers complete and actionable information about how their students are progressing through the content. I want to frame our approach to assessments by orienting to this quote. The word assess comes from the Latin root assedere, which means sit beside. When I think back to my time in the classroom, I can't help but think about all the times my assessments didn't go as I had hoped. I'd pass out the quiz, get out of the way so my students could show me what they had learned on their own. Inevitably, one of my kids would raise their hand, and I'd think, now's the time for you to show off your work. You can do it. I'd go over, lean down, and ask, how can I help? And they'd point to a problem and say, I don't understand. I don't even know where to start. And you know what my brilliant response was? Sure, you do. We did this in class. Did that ever work? Nope, not one time. They'd sit there and stare at me blankly, and I'd go back to the beginning and retrace the learning path we had walked to get there. I'd leave the student thinking, man, why don't I include more scaffolding on my assessments? Why don't I create entry points for my students or use an assessment that mirrors the learning? Can I even tell where my students are on their path to understanding when I grade these things? As we think about all the disrupted learning that's happened in the pandemic, teachers and kids deserve an assessment experience that has entry points and scaffolding so that teachers can get precise, comprehensive information on where kids are in their path to understanding and be able to observe and leverage kids' mathematical thinking to promote learning and improve teaching. Experiences like these informed our decisions and direction for creating CERN math assessments. Our assessments are anchored in a set of design principles. Students first. Assessments are an extension of the learning process, following the same progression as the curriculum and using the same language and model students use in the lessons. This allows our assessments themselves to serve as a learning experience. They're practical and actionable. Assessments provide teachers with data to differentiate instruction for each student. They're efficient and coherent. Assessments are fully aligned to the curriculum and focus on the big ideas of mathematics. Finally, they're balanced. Zern provides a combination of daily assessments and unit level assessments to see precisely how students are progressing through the content. We have digital and paper based assessments to support teachers with flexibly diagnosing student struggle and supporting student learning. We're very intentional in balancing digital assessment with an open ended paper and pencil work. So there are lots of opportunities for students to show their work, explain their thinking, and demonstrate their understanding. Let's dive in and start with Zern's daily lesson level assessments. We offer 2 assessments, a digital assessment called the Tower of Power and a daily paper exit ticket. The Tower of Power is a scaffolded assessment administered automatically at the end of each independent digital lesson. The Tower of Power is focused on the content of a single lesson and allows students to demonstrate their developing understanding. What's so special about the Tower of Power is that it includes an embedded daily diagnostic that assesses each student's understanding and automatically launches a boost exactly when kids need it, with support and scaffolding they need from prior grades or prior units. We know that all kids don't master every concept from prior grades, and so our materials don't assume they do. This is one of the most important parts of CERN compared to other programs. We're continually assessing, diagnosing, and giving kids the boost they need built into their grade level learning. Our boosts are based on data from over 6 billion problems kids have completed on CERN. When they struggle, where they struggle, and what foundational content can best support them. And if students need more than a boost, we notify teachers so teachers know precisely where students need additional support. Here, we can see an example of the Tower of Power for a grade 5 lesson in which students use place value strategies to subtract decimals. As you can see on the right, students move through 3 to 4 stages in each Tower of Power. As they advance, scaffolds are removed and the questions become more challenging. Let's jump right into the second stage of the tower, where students start by representing a decimal on the place value chart. This serves as an on-ramp to the more abstract problems they'll see later in the tower. If a student makes a mistake here, such as speeding through, not noticing that they're being asked to represent 400s and 800ths, they get immediate and precise feedback and a chance to correct that answer. So students represent the 400 800ths on the place value chart. Then we're going to use the chart to subtract 400ths. Here, the tower connects unit form, which is familiar language, and the place value chart, which is a familiar model. Students can use the visual model of the place value chart to support them in moving from unit form to standard form and see that the answer is 400 and 400ths. Keep climbing. Here in stage 3, we move to the abstract work of subtracting decimals without a visual model. We first want to make sure that students understand it's the decimal points that need lining up, not the leftmost digit. Now, we understand that throughout our digital content, students will make mistakes, and that's okay. We expect and value productive struggle. It's likely that a student will struggle to complete the subtraction without the visual model to support them. Maybe they think the answer is 34 and 51 hundredths. Well, that's not it. It's not enough for students to click their way through the tower, not getting anything correct. So we give them an opportunity to correct their mistake before launching additional support. This time, maybe it's 30 and 20 hundredths. Okay, that's still not it. We don't want them getting stuck. So when students are unable to correctly answer a problem on their second attempt, we're going to provide them the support they need at the point of misconception, known as a boost. Notice how we're going to go back to the foundational understanding, back to the visualization. Specifically, we're going back to that connection between the place value chart and the vertical method. So now it's leading me through, helping me see, representing my first number on the place value chart. And now it's going to help me use our place value chart to complete the subtraction. And then taking away 3/10. And now students can see the answer is the 3/10, which is 30, and then 22 hundredths. Now, this is not going to allow me to progress to the next stage of the tower. Instead, it's going to take me right back to my point of struggle and give me another opportunity to demonstrate my developing understanding. After solving this problem, students progress to the final, least scaffolded stage of the tower, in which they're asked to solve the abstract problem on their own without any additional scaffolding or visual supports. Can you see how the assessment is an extension of the learning process? Rather than just getting points taken off because they got a question wrong, the digital program is able to give them in the moment feedback and support to keep the learning moving forward. And because this is an embedded daily assessment, it's continually diagnosing each student's learning and giving them the boost they need. And remember, if students need more than a boost, we notify teachers so teachers know precisely where students need that additional support. As we mentioned, we fully believe that struggle is a part of the learning process, but we also recognize that there's a point at which students move from productive to unproductive struggle. To provide visibility into student struggle, we provide teachers with real-time alerts so they can intervene. Teachers are able to respond and ensure students keep moving through the content rather than spending extended periods of instructional time stuck on one problem. Here, in their class's Tower Alerts report, teachers can see if a student struggled multiple times in the Tower of Power. Each alert is specific to a student and a lesson. Teachers can also see information about when and how often the student struggled in the lesson, and whether the student was able to complete the tower by working through the boost and move on to the next lesson. The Tower Alerts report supports teachers in their daily and weekly planning. By highlighting the specific concepts students are struggling with, the report saves teacher time with actionable data, which is especially important as we consider all the disrupted learning time due to the pandemic. During planning time, teachers can focus on leveraging the coherence of mathematics to keep students moving forward. Students can proceed through their towers with confidence because they know if they get stuck, they're going to receive the timely support from their teacher. Thus, they see that daily assessment now as a safe opportunity to learn and grow. We intentionally designed our daily lesson level assessments to provide a balance between digital and paper and pencil work. Let's look at the paper complement to the Tower of Power. After they finish the digital lesson, students complete the paper exit ticket, which uses 1 to 2 problems to help teachers determine if the students transferred the work from the software-based lesson to a less scaffolded open response item. Exit ticket problems require students to show their thinking and work by drawing models, writing explanations, or both. Teachers can use exit tickets to identify students who may need extra help with a particular concept and then provide that appropriate support. Let's look at an example of the paper-based exit ticket from the same lesson. This time, students are subtracting decimal fractions using their place value understanding. In this exit ticket, students are asked to complete the abstract subtraction problems we saw in the later stages of the tower without the aid of visual supports. They must vertically align the numbers correctly before performing the subtraction, showing all their work and thinking, which will in turn give the teacher an opportunity to see how well the student is understanding the content of the lesson. We just saw that the Tower Alerts report shows teachers which students are struggling and on which lesson. Analyzing student work and thinking on the paper-based exit tickets takes that a step further by showing teachers the extent of the struggle. Blending digital and paper-based assessments helps by providing a more holistic look into students' ongoing learning. Let's turn now to our unit level assessments. Students work through a paper-based assessment at the middle and end of each unit, which Stern calls a mission. Mid and end of mission assessments assess only the content of that specific unit. Let's look at a grade 5 end of mission assessment on the same content we just explored, that operations with decimals. In the first half of this mission, students see the relationship between adjacent place values and deepen their understanding of place value. In the second half of the mission, students extend and leverage their understanding of place value to perform operations with decimals. Again, I think back to my time in the classroom and the expectation of so many grades in the grade book with X number of those grades needing to be big tests. This made me nervous, and I know it made my students nervous. I didn't fully understand the purpose of my assessments beyond that grading expectation, and it did feel like I was giving too many tests at times. I never felt like I was getting or giving the meaningful information from the assessment that would help me meet the needs of my students. I didn't know how to use the information gained from an assessment to respond to my students' needs beyond placing a grade in the gradebook. When I started repurposing and reframing my assessments as part of the learning process, as a form of communication, student to teacher and teacher to student, our anxiety was replaced with excitement. I was excited that each and every student would have a chance for that one-on-one conversation with me, albeit through the assessment, And my students were excited to show me what they had learned and excited to receive the precise feedback they knew would help them continue to develop their understanding. No longer was I assessing for the sake of quantifying their learning. Rather, I was assessing so I could diagnose misconceptions, so I could build plans to respond to misconceptions, and ultimately, so I could continue to build my students' developing understanding. Similarly, our assessments focus on big ideas of mathematics. And as another way of helping students avoid that feeling of being over tested, we designed focused assessments that should take no more than 45 minutes to complete. Let's look at problems 1B and 2D and see how subtraction is assessed at the end of the mission. As we think about subtracting decimals, that's a big mathematical idea that can be really tricky and challenging for kids. Instead of starting with the most abstract version of the work, we start by having students subtract using unit form to see if they understand that idea of like units. This follows the learning progression used in the mission and serves as that entry point I was so often missing from my own assessments. So there in 1B, 32 hundredths minus 18 hundredths is 14 hundredths still. Then taking that and writing that as 1/10, 4 hundredths, leading to that standard form answer of 14 hundredths. Now, we move to problem 2, where we see that less scaffolded subtraction problem. This time, students subtract decimals using the place value chart, that visual representation, and the vertical method, the most abstract procedure. Combined, the work across these items we've looked at will show the full breadth of the content and make it easy for teachers to see exactly what a student learned and what ideas he or she may still be wrestling with. Think about this problem here in 2D specifically. Maybe I have a student who rocks on the place value chart, but struggles to connect those ideas to the vertical method. That information, or that's information I can use to build a plan for that student. If all I saw was how good or bad he could subtract using the vertical method, it'd be so much more difficult for me to pinpoint the unfinished learning. Our assessments mirror the learning that takes place throughout the mission and provide a complete picture of student understanding. Similar to what we know about the student experience with our digital content, we understand that not every student will perfectly answer each question on these assessments. We also want to always provide visibility into student struggle and help teachers build a plan to respond to what they learn about their students from our assessments. The result? Our team has created new rubrics to provide teachers with actionable feedback they can use to respond to the learning and misconceptions students demonstrate on the mission level paper-based assessments. Let's look at these newly developed rubrics. Here, we see the progression towards understanding, from initiating understanding in the leftmost column to full understanding on the right. Starting in the leftmost column, a student who is initiating understanding shows little or no evidence of application of mathematics to solve the problem. Students in the initiating understanding column will likely need more intensive support. Jumping over to nearing understanding, a student that falls in the nearing understanding column, if they either show a correct answer with some evidence of reasoning or the application of mathematics to solve the problem, or if they give an incorrect answer but show substantial evidence of solid reasoning or application of mathematics to solve the problem. These students will likely be able to correct their mistakes with minimal support from the teacher. Looking specifically at problem 2D from the end of mission assessment we just explored together, we can see a student nearing understanding is able to calculate the difference with one of the methods, which means she understands how to subtract decimals. That's great. She still needs some help connecting the two methods, but she's close. Or maybe she shows a lot of great work and makes a simple, careless mistake. She's still nearing understanding. Compare her to the student who's only able to model in the place value chart, but really struggles from there to complete the subtraction. This student shows signs of initiating understanding and should be recognized for such. You'll note too that our rubrics contain scoring guidance. We designed the rubrics to be practical. We heard from teachers that it was really challenging to align on grading with just an answer key. And we want to help teachers translate student scores on rubrics to a score out of 100 so teachers can more easily input gradebook grades. Not stopping at helping a teacher identify where students are in their progression towards mastery will also have all the resources she'll need to keep them moving forward. Think about those students who are initiating understanding or developing understanding. Teachers might choose to assign students to a foundational lesson from a previous grade to provide that targeted support. They can identify that here in the foundational lesson guidance. Teachers might also choose to teach targeted mini lessons to meet students' needs on specific concepts. They can access additional problems for these mini lessons in Zern's small group materials. Finally, teachers may choose to review clips from unit specific curriculum study PD. These are sessions to review multiple means of engaging students in learning for each concept. Each session dives into key teaching activities, such as modeling how teachers can use scaffolded questioning during word problem work to help students make the meaning of math text and draw visual representations of problems. Here, teachers can access all of the materials they need to act on the student data they've gathered from assessments and support their students' progression towards understanding. Today, we looked at Zern's full suite of assessment offerings through the lens of our four design principles and saw firsthand how ongoing assessments are a critical part of recovering learning. Students first. As we saw with the immediate feedback students get on the Tower of Power and the choice they get in regards to how they represent their thinking on each assessment, assessments truly are an extension of the learning process and they promote student ownership of their learning. Practical and actionable. Assessments provide data to help differentiate instruction for all. This comes in the form of Tower Alerts reports, assessment answer keys, and detailed rubrics with scoring guidance and information on potential misconceptions. Efficient and coherent. Assessments are fully aligned to the curriculum and focused on the big ideas of mathematics. Students encounter the same language throughout the curriculum and across the full suite of assessments. Balanced. Zern provides digital and paper-based assessments to support teachers with flexibly diagnosing student struggle and supporting student learning. There are lots of opportunities for students to show their work, explain their thinking, and demonstrate their understanding. We'll now have time to answer the questions that came through the Q&A function. Let's see. All right, first question. Can I use these assessments and rubrics even if I don't use Zern as my core curriculum? I'm so glad you asked. And the short answer is yes. We're aligned to Engage New York and Eureka Math. So even if you don't use Zern Math as your core curriculum, our assessments and rubrics will still work for your school and district. Let's see. When will teachers have access to these rubrics and what grades will they be available for? Our rubrics and scoring guidance will be available this July. So teachers whose school have purchased a school account will have access to them heading into the 2021-2022 academic school year. And the rubrics and scoring guidance are going to be available next year for grades 1 through 5. Let's see. Next question. You mentioned online PD. What does Zern offer and who has access? Well, we offer a curriculum aligned PD designed to support teaching grade level and foundational content. We have a session for each unit of K-5 math, and schools and districts who have a school account with Zern have the option to purchase Curriculum Study PD to obtain access to all of the PD sessions across grades K-5. How can I learn more about Zern? That's great. I'd encourage you to visit our website, about.zern.org. You can sign up for a free account on Zern. All of our core instructional content and lesson level assessments are free to all teachers and kids. The mission level assessments and the deeper assessment supports, it's like the rubrics, the scoring guidance, the PD videos, those are all available to teachers as a part of a paid school purchase. If you're interested in that option, visit our website and schedule time with our partnerships team. They can do a full demo and complete an overview of our approach, lessons, and assessments. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that this time left you feeling very confident about Zern's assessment offerings and about shifting the perception of assessment in your school and classrooms. We want our students to feel confident when engaging with Zern assessments. We want them to feel like it's a moment of celebration, even if they make a mistake or two. I always liken assessments to dance recitals. My daughter spends so much time preparing for that moment, and they're always so excited to share it with me. Heck, I even buy them flowers just to celebrate all they did to get to that moment. Imagine what a cool experience it would be if we celebrated math assessments like we do dance recitals.